loving you.
So much for watching today. I'm super excited for today's video, and I'm going to be doing the famous mid-year book freakout tag. I did a video like this last year, so you can check that one out as well, but this year I'm going to be doing the same questions here on my phone like I did last year, and I'm going to be doing a playlist of these videos because I'm going to try to do it every single year. It's a little bit over half a year. It's July 24th, and I can't believe how fast this year has gone by. It's insane. Like, I feel like it was literally just April, so that's crazy. And let's get into the questions. Best book you've read so far in 2023. So funny enough, but I actually made a whole list of all the books that I read this year. So far this year I have read 27 books, and I'm on my 28th book, which is actually just perfect because I wanted to read at least 50 to 60 books this year, and I'm almost halfway there. It's honestly really hard to pinpoint which book was the best. For me, at this very moment, I would say it was Swimming in the Dark. I really enjoyed that book. It was so moving, so deep, and I really, you know when you just find a book and you're reading it and you absolutely love it in that point of time that you picked it up? Swimming in the Dark was like that for me, and I just really loved it. It was heartbreaking and beautiful, romantic and still, and I really like that one. Another one, if I can just add as a bonus, was one of my best books that I read so far this year, is A Spy in the House of Love. That was such a random pickup of a book. It just was in Waterstones and I saw it and I loved the cover, and so of course I just picked it up and read it. And I am a big fan of like 1920s, 1930s fiction writing. It's become quite a thing this year. I've really gotten into vintage vibes, as you can tell probably from my channel. Best sequel you've read so far in 2023. Let me go through my list. I don't think there's any sequels I've read. Not really a series girl, so I don't really read too many books in series because I don't know, I'm just like not really into that. Like, I prefer like fiction that's not high fantasy. I was going to read The Poppy War this year, but I didn't physically have my copies in hand, so obviously I didn't read them. But I'm not a big fan of series. I don't know if you can count Shakespeare tragedies as series, but I loved Macbeth. I don't know which number that goes in his books, but I love that one. I'm not a big fantasy reader. New release you haven't read yet but want to. So I have a couple of these books. So I'm still debating whether or not I want to go to the Waterstones event, but it's Okay Days by Jenny Mustard. I've seen this one a couple times on Instagram and it looks very appetizing. I'll read you the synopsis real quick. Sam is 28, Swedish, carefree and chaotic, doing a work placement in London. That's another reason why I want to read it, because it takes place in London, and I am a big fan of any books that take place in London. Fiction, non-fiction, whatever. If it takes place in London and Europe, I'm a big fan. Over the course of 3 sticky summer months, she falls hard for Lucas, a man she met as a teenager. Lucas, 27, sensitive and calm, is trying to get a foothold in the adult world while struggling to hold the pieces of his life together. Sam is a gorgeous distraction. But you can only avoid reality for so long, and both Sam and Lucas know their relationship can't last. Nobody can be this happy forever, surely. Okay Days tells the story of the rise and fall of Sam and Lucas' affection for each other while looking unflinchingly at male body dysmorphia, women's reproductive rights, and the pitfalls of modern love. When is okay enough, and what are we willing to lose in search for a life that is much better than just okay? I think this is going to be a very interesting take on modern society, rights as being a man and a woman today. This is going to be very interesting, so I think I might get tickets to go to the Waterstones event. This is my most anticipated read of this year. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So I'm not a big tracker on what's gonna come up next. I was a big anticipator of Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I still haven't gotten my hands into it. I still haven't read it. But I really want to, and I'm looking forward to it. Upcoming release. There's not really, I mean, I'm looking forward to some of my favorite poets to release their debut fiction book, but not anything that I'm looking forward to this year. Biggest disappointment. So biggest disappointment this year, biggest disappointment will probably be the book that was so popular back in January for cozy fantasy that was going on. That's Legends and Lattes by Troy. I don't know his last name, but that book was a really big disappointment. I read the whole thing. I did love it. I'm not gonna say that I hated it, but it was just a big disappointment to me because I thought it was gonna be so much more. I had so much anticipation that it was going to be such a better story and that it was going to be taken much further. Obviously I knew it wasn't going to have like a massive plot, but I really wish there was some more like to it, you know. So Legends and Lattes would be the biggest disappointment this year. Biggest surprise. Ooh, so my biggest surprise in a book this year would probably be... Biggest surprise to me, I was gonna say the deep, meaningful message in the new Barbie movie, but that's not very relevant. To me, it would probably be A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. I absolutely devoured that book. I've never read anything surrounding that topic of A Room of One's Own, but it was the most deeply captivating book I've ever read. It was so amazing about women in fiction, how women are portrayed in fiction written by men, and how the roles of women could have been so much more higher, and so much, we could have had so many more amazing writers in the past if they had the right to write, if that makes sense. So that was a very thought-provoking book. I highly recommend anybody who's a feminist or anybody who wants to dive more into Virginia Woolf's books or just loves the topic about women in fiction. I highly recommend that one. It was so wonderful. I underlined that book so many times. It's probably one of my most underlined books of the year. So yeah, that one was definitely a big surprise for me because I thought Virginia Woolf, I wasn't gonna like her as a writer, but she's really interesting, and that whole essay was outstanding, so highly recommend that one. Favorite new author. Ooh, so I actually have quite a few. So currently it's the book that I'm reading right now. I am absolutely loving Mrs. S by Kay Patrick. I don't know if she's going to be my favorite author, but it's a book that I'm currently reading. I am on page 144, halfway through it, and I'm loving her writing, her attention to detail, the way she explores girlhood, the way she just like understands things and put things in writing that nobody will notice, and just like about like different upbringing of traumas, standing out from the crowd, just like the human experience is so amazing, the way she depicts it in this book. So she's one of my new favorite upcoming authors. Newest fictional crush. So I don't read a lot of romance. I don't read smut. I don't read rom-coms. I don't read anything like that. But all I can say, it's not my newest favorite crush, but all I can say is my all-time favorite crush forever is going to be Dracula. I just love Dracula so much. Morely in the portrayal of Bela Lugosi from the film, it was from 1931. I absolutely love Bela Lugosi as Dracula, so that's the guy that I have in my mind when I think of Dracula. But yeah, he's my biggest crush. He's tall, you know, that slick dark hair, those eyes, and the expression he has on his face and mannerisms, his presence. Just love it all, and his cape is like so cool. I love that. So he's definitely my biggest fictional crush. Newest favorite character. Probably Macbeth. I think she's a really interesting character. Like, Macbeth knows it's wrong to kill people and he doesn't want to do it, but Lady Macbeth is the one that holds the knife, and then Macbeth is the one who plunges it. Interesting new character that I found out this year. I've never heard of her prior. So yeah, it's definitely Lady Macbeth. A book that made you cry. Ooh. So books don't really make me cry. I'm not like one to sob. I sob more when I'm watching a movie. Like when I watched Barbie, I literally cried at the end when that song, What Was I Made For, came on. I absolutely sobbed. Swimming in the Dark. I'm looking through my list of books that I read this year. So a book that made you happy. So a book that made me happy is definitely Legends and Lattes. Even though I said that was my biggest disappointment, it did make me very happy. I'll say Vile Bodies by Evelyn Waugh made me happy. Most beautiful book you've bought this year or received. Sorry, I'm just gonna rave about this book again. This is the most beautiful edition. I love the red lettering and the white yellow book, and I love the red on the top. Super iconic. What books do you need to read at the end of this year? So I do have some books that I want to finish at the end of this year. It's definitely going to be A Secret History, Babel, all these books that you see here. So that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna go read my book Mrs. S by Kay Patrick, and I hope you have a lovely day. I love you all so much.
Seeing eyes of mine, you see, there are no trees inside of me. In this desert I can look